right, folks, episode 17 of Allergic to Silverware. What a guest we have. Before on this show, we've had a lot of legends, as we've called them, and there's no bigger legend than this man, a man who's played 43 years in the League of Ireland. What a career he's had, though, seriously, 20-odd years at Sligo Rovers, and then eventually got a move to a big club in Finn Harps, which is a great reward for such a storied career. But Ralph, great to have you on. Hey, absolutely delighted. Looking forward to the chat. And Cown's been telling me a few good stories about you. So looking forward to it, Cown, are you?
Oh, I definitely, this man, as we say, has had a great career. I suppose congratulations, Ralph, on your career. We could obviously start with that there. Your name synonymous with Sligo Rovers, we'd say. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah. Well, obviously, the majority of my career obviously spent at my hometown club. So, yeah, definitely, I've probably had the most success throughout my career was obviously with my hometown club. So I'm grateful for that,
Yeah, I suppose, as we say, with the name like Rafael Cretaro as well, Chief reckons if he'd have been called, Marco Forcarelli, that he might have had a decent career too, but it didn't seem to work out that way for him. And obviously it's worked out better for you. And, I suppose going over your career, league success, cup success, European nights, have all come together to, when you look back, I suppose it's a career that you can be immensely proud of.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll start with, with just being grateful for having so long, really. There's a lot of players and better players than me that have had probably less time playing, so to play for 20 odd years and win and pick a couple of things up along the way, is definitely a bonus. But, like you said, a lot of people kind of tie me in with my hometown club, obviously Sligo. But I would have talked to Ollie obviously over the last couple of years before I ended up coming up to you for the 2 seasons. But we would have been chatting well before that.
How difficult has it been now? You'd normally be in the middle of a pre-season, either at Sligo or Harps. When you stepped away from being in that environment, are you still finding it hard to adjust? Is it strange? We're living in strange times with lockdown and stuff, but once football's been such a massive part of your life in terms of a player and the great career you've had, how's it been not having a pre-season? Maybe you're delighted.
I'm grateful for not having another pre-season, anyways. But obviously, with it been such a big part of your life, I've been still in touch with some of the lads, obviously from last season, the likes of Stephen Folin and Ryan Connolly, and obviously my brother-in-law Alan is part of the staff up with Harps now as well. So, I know kind of what's going on, but no, look, like I said, I've been grateful to have 20 years. Not to be doing another pre-season is a bonus. I was never one that liked the pre-season. I always felt I had a parachute on my back. I was used to be the one that was running back the ways instead of going forwards. But look, it's one of them ones now where I think I've had my time. I'm going to enjoy the time now home here with the family, and have done over the last couple of 2 months or so. Since we finished 3 months. So yeah, I'm going to enjoy the spectator, the view of watching football as a spectator now for a while, anyways.
But obviously, Ralph, as we said, Sligo's your hometown club. Was it always an aspiration of yours to get into the Sligo team? Were you a fan growing up? Did you regularly go to the Showgrounds?
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I would have went to games obviously with my dad as a kid. Kind of would have been in and around the Showgrounds as a youngster, with kind of the schoolboys league, Sligo Leitrim. We used to use the Showgrounds as a place where we used to train. Niall Harrison was the manager, so I was kind of in and about the place, and used to see obviously the first team training, in the evenings when we'd be there. We'd have one part of the pitch and they'd have the other, so there was always that kind of thing where you were looking at these players and saying, geez, I'd love to be them, and a lot of young lads would have thought about playing for Manchester United and your Liverpools. For me, I think when I went to watch Sligo in the European Cup v BRUGES, I think that night was the night where I really says, you know, I want to be one of the players that was on the pitch. I'll never forget it. It was the Cup, obviously, it was called in the Showgrounds at that stage. And all the young lads like myself, all the lads that'll be knocking about, when Sligo lost on the night 2-1, but when they scored, we all pushed up against the fence. They scored at the Cup end where it was, pushed up against the fence and ended up breaking the fence. Now, I was only a young lad at the time, and there must have been 10. How I didn't get crushed or how anyone didn't get hurt on the night is beyond me. The whole fence all broke and everything. But from that night on, I think was the night where I says I wanted to be kind of one of those lads that were on the pitch playing, you know, because the place was absolutely rocking, you know. And when they scored, I'd say you would have heard the roar back in Tubbercurry, which is a half an hour away, you know.
Obviously, Raf, like we've already touched on it, like you did have an incredible career that probably it started off brilliantly as well for you in terms of scoring on your debut and that. But something we've always talked about as well here on the podcast is that introduction to senior football can be quite a ruthless environment. You know, you're a teenager, you're moving away from schoolboys football. Who were the big characters in that Sligo Rovers dressing room when you first came in, and who really took you under your wing and helped you sort of adapt to the demands of senior football in Ireland?
Yeah, it was Tommy Cassidy that brought me in. Myself and actually Michael McNamara were brought in. But this is a funny one. The very first session I had with Sligo Rovers was in the Sligo race course. So basically no footballs, straight out. And I mean, I never did a session like this. Now, I thought I looked after myself. I thought I was fit. Oh my God, this thing was it was like an obstacle course running around the Sligo race course. And you had the likes of Steve Burks there. You had the likes of Rossi was there, obviously, at that stage when I first came in. He had played maybe 1 or 2 years before I came in. So, you know, there was big characters there. Danny O'Leary, a couple of other lads. So, yeah, we were 2 young lads, not kind of knowing what we were going to come into. And you know, like I said, we thought we trained hard and we worked hard, but by God, we got a rude awakening that day to what we were, you know, in for the next couple of weeks in terms of pre-season, but got through it injury free. I think the main character that really took me under his wing, now he didn't come in till I think it was maybe about 2 weeks before the end of pre-season, and it was Ian Gilzine. I don't know, do any remember him? He used to play with Pats. I think he played with Rovers first. He had a stint with Rovers before I joined. But he was a real kind of influence where he kind of took me under my wing. Actually asked Tommy Cassidy for any away games that we were staying over that he could room, that I'd be his roommate, you know, and stuff like that. And he used to really give me kind of confidence, you know, and tell me that I was, you know, do this, you know, maybe you can do this a little bit better. That's good. How can you make this better? You know, stuff like that. That really helped me settle in as a young lad and as a young striker as well. With him being a striker, you know, I took everything on board and really appreciated everything he was trying to do for me. But, you know, definitely really took me under his wing. I remember he was the tallest man. Like Gilly was at least 6'3", maybe 6'4", even possibly more. He'd be bigger than you, Keith. He had
a few inches on you then, did he?
Oh, small, a few inches. The smallest feet I've ever seen on a man in all my life. I'm talking, he was a size 6. Now, he was 6'6", and he was a size 6. And I used to have, like, I haven't got the biggest feet in the world. I think I take a size 7 in an Adidas and a 6.5 in a Nike. And he used to be always trying my boots on to see if they'd fit him. He couldn't believe how small a foot I had. He couldn't believe that anyone had a small foot like him. But when he used to take his shoes off, 100% he was wearing the boots too small. His feet were just curled up. They were curled up like that. I swear to God, his toes were curled like that. So he was obviously wearing boots too small for him, you know. But that's kind of really where, in terms of who took me under the wing, and you know, that was kind of where it all really started. And like Mark says, you know, scoring on my debut, you know, I think we were a good 2 months into the season, or a good weeks into the season before I even got anywhere near the first team. Would have been on the bench as a 17-year-old lad with hoping to get a chance of coming on. But
and what's your confidence like at that stage? Like, are you when you're sitting on the bench, are you thinking, get me on there, I'll be able to change the game, or is it much of a just I'm just going to wait here and sit, and if he calls me, great, I'll go on and see what I can do.
100%. I was just like, I couldn't believe he had even said, Raf, kind of warm up. I'm kind of like running down the line with a big smile up to me ears, thinking that I might even get a chance to get on, But we had a bit of an injury crisis and a couple of lads out in suspension, and I think the fact that we were actually winning the game 2-1, might have been a bit of a thing where he says, right, here, we give this lad a run. And look, within 5 minutes, of getting on, I've just chased a ball over the top, and the keeper, it's kind of gone between the centre half and the keeper, but the keeper's ended up coming out for the ball and nearly clashing with the centre half. And I'm just there picking up the pieces with an empty net to kick the ball into, looking at saying, pot luck, really, a bit of luck, where I ran and chased something down, hoping to get on the end of it. It wasn't looking like I was going to get on the end of it, and the keeper and the centre half ended up clashing, and the ball hops straight for me to pass into an empty net.
Yeah. And how does that change you, do you think, as a person? I'm glad, great to get that, your senior debut, a goal, and a few more goals come along with that. Next thing, you're offered another year's contract. Did that change you any, as, Raf about town, or did you, bit of a spring in your step? How did that sort of come to you at that age?
I think it gave me a bit of a spring in my step, but a spring in my step in a good way, to say that, not a spring in my step to say, I've landed, or anything like that, because I think I've always gave, everything in training. Training to me, I was always, really, I put it in, and I'd always kind of try my best to be the best I could possibly be, whether it was training or a match or whatever it may be. So, it didn't change me in regards that here, I've landed now, I'm a senior footballer. Absolutely not, because
so when did that happen? When did you land then?
That happened a bit later, where I was like, I'm finally, I've landed. I'm running the show now,
Just in terms of that period at Sligo, you won the first division, and you got out of that what you described a graveyard. There must have been a brilliant thing to be a part of. Obviously, you didn't know the success you were going to have later on in terms of winning the Premier Division. So winning that first division and getting out and getting back in the Premier Division must have been not just brilliant for yourself, but for the whole club, because Sligo's as a football mad town.
Yeah, it was like, that was my kind of real taste of success as a player at that level. Like I said, with Sligo up until the 2006 season, or the 2005 season, should I say, when they won the first division. We were a mid-table team, that was looking to get out of the division. Was half the squad was kind of full time. You had your couple of English lads and a couple of other lads that were full time who train in the morning. Then you had the players who used to come then in the evening and train twice a week. So there was a real kind of mixture of lads there. But in 2005, Sean Connor came in, and he said, look, I want to make everyone full-time, I want to make everyone as full-time as possible. And he got a squad of, I think, 13, 14 lads that were full-time, so that he knew that he could work with these lads every day. And I think that was the year I went actually full-time. So 2005 was the first time I actually went full-time with Sligo, where I'd left my job and stuff like that, and went in full-time. And it paid off dividends, because he really attracted some great players, to be fair to him, the likes of Farud and Kadosevic, Capono Low, Liam Burns, you know, that was just with some of the talent that was already there, you know. But these players that he attracted and brought in were the difference, you know, of us kind of in a mid-table team to pushing on and winning, you know, the first division.
Yeah, and just in relation to Sean Connor, Raf, is sort of interesting. You know, you're touching about the fact he kind of probably changed the culture and the direction the club was going in. They were sort of mid-table first division. You know, he's brought them full time. He's come in for criticism at different clubs, like, but do you credit a lot of the success that Sligo's had from, you know, him taking over and maybe changing the direction of the club, or how do you look back on his spell as manager in the club and the impact he had on Sligo?
Well, I loved it, you know. Obviously, he gave me the first taste of success as a player, you know. So I'd be forever grateful for that, you know. Like he really did change the culture in terms of, you know, there was a couple of lads that didn't really want to go full time, you know, and you know, these were established lads, you know, that had, you know, good, you know, had been playing prior to that, you know, regularly for the club. And, you know, and he really says, you know, well, look, if you're not going to commit to the full-time setup that I want to, you know, run and do for the club, you know, you're just going to I'm going to have to move you on, or you're going to have to find another club, you know. So he did really change it. And
so he did sort of bring a real sort of professional culture, I suppose, you know, and creating those links, like you're saying, you know, getting lads to eat better, getting lads maybe gym membership and stuff like that there to try and change the whole environment.
100%, and that's exactly what he did, you know. The eating kind of thing, he tried to, you know, implement it. Like I was probably lucky in the terms of the eating aspect. Now, we owned a chipper here in Tubber, you know. So
Chief, did you run follow on the chipper by any chance, did he?
What's that?
So we
did you run follow on the chipper? No.
No, he didn't. What are you trying to say?
The old fella owned it. Yeah, not me, but hey, as a young kid, as a young kid, you want to see me till before I came into Rovers. Hey, I was a wee pudding, like, from eating burgers.
You're still cuddly enough looking, so you are, to be honest.
That's the beard. That's the beard adding a few pounds onto me. Hey, now I was lucky that look, I had me fair share of it as a young lad, and after that, kind of ate a lot better, you know, as I joined Rovers and said, look, I really did change kind of my eating habits and everything, and tend to, even to this day, try and eat as well as I can, you know. Mind you, if you seen what I had over the Christmas, and you seen me now with my top off, you wouldn't say that. I enjoyed the Christmas, you know.
Well, that's actually a wee kind of thing that we do with all our guests. We get them at the end to stand up and show us what they'd be like, you know, and then we kind of compare them to Chief, who's actually still playing semi-pro football over in Dubai.
I'm playing in the continent. I outgrew the League of Ireland. I'm doing for football in the Middle East what Beckham did over in the US. So I'm trailblazing.
I love it.
Galway, you know, what was the you know, the decision behind moving to Galway? Did you want to leave Sligo? What was the situation there?
Yeah, look, the one with Galway was probably where I had a great, like, I liked Sean, and Sean, you know, obviously had a budget for the following year. I had a great season. Obviously, I played nearly every game. You know, was available anyways to play every game, and nearly started every game. Had scored a couple of goals, got Young Player of the Year, and probably, you know, thought maybe I would have been given a little bit, you know, more of a contract, you know, or something. You know, there wasn't, you know, when I think back on it now, I think, you know, probably it was a great contract that was offered to me. But I had gotten a little bit of advice, probably not the best advice at the time, you know, when I think back at it. And, you know, basically I was happy with what I was getting, but then I was kind of derailed a little bit because I was told this person is getting X amount and he didn't play this. And all of a sudden then you're kind of like thinking,
I'm better than him.
Do I?
You thinking you're better than him, and you should be getting more?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say I thought I was better than anyone, but I was trying to give myself kind of, the best, as kind of, I wanted to be treated fairly, because sometimes you got to kind of value yourself, really, put a kind of value on yourself. And I thought that maybe I wasn't getting that what I thought I was, but when I think back on it now, it was actually a great contract, for probably a second year as a full-time professional. Without a doubt, was a good salary.
Yeah. At that time, Raf, were they giving out 2-year deals, or was it just a 1 year?
No, it was only 1 year, and most of the players were on 1 year deals at that stage, and it's only kind of recently now you see the bigger deals, the 2s and the 3 years kind of coming in. But it was a 1 year deal, and by God, like when I think back on it, it was a decent deal. But obviously the bit of advice I got, to move on, and just kind of, I wouldn't stay there, because you feel you weren't treated right. It wasn't the case, it was just a mix up more than anything, and where I thought, I'm maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was, because obviously Sean, wanted to keep me, even though he did offer me a decent deal. Now, I wasn't looking for extortionate amounts, it was probably a difference of €50 in the end, but it was enough to kind of, say, well, right, I'll move, but because of it. But like I said, it wasn't a case where I think now it was a decent deal, and I probably should have taken it. And I don't have many regrets in football, and I wouldn't say that's a regret, but definitely, a bad piece of advice that I had taken on at the time, really.
Yeah. And did you go back to them and say, look, I don't feel that's a fair reflection on the season I've had, where, player of the year or whatever? Did they say, look, that's a final contract offer, either sign it or go, or did you just reject it and then leave? What was this? Did they come back with a counter deal, or?
Yeah, I'd be kind of shy. The thing about me with in terms of contracts, I kind of, every manager will say this, and Ollie included. Ollie, or any manager would have said, right, this is what we have to offer you. And I would say, out of the 20 years I've played, I would say every single first-time offer that I have been offered in the 20 years, I'd say, bar maybe 2 that I had gotten more in. The rest, I always ended up taking the first offer that was offered to me. But 2000.
So you were up in Ballymena for €30. You're up at Hearts for €30
it was. I was lucky. Hey, it was costing me money to play for Herbs. I'm telling you now.
It's great to hear that, from the perspective as well, of a young lad who has, been with Sligo, done really well, player of the year in the Prem, or a chance to play in the Prem, and then decides then, you know what, it's okay for me to go back to First Division football. I'm not thinking that, look, I've arrived now, like we sort of joked about there. I've arrived. I'm a Premier League footballer. This is where I should be playing. That you're able to take that step back, look at things, and and have the confidence in yourself to say, you know what, I'll get back to the top again.
Yeah, like you said, it was a case of just going down there, and I couldn't have been welcomed no more than I was at Hearts. Stephen Lally, even to this day, the manager, Stephen Lally, I still speak to him, but like really felt at home down there. Had a great season. I think I scored 10 goals for the club. Now, I picked up a little injury down there. I actually I broke my jaw in a training session down there, and that kept me out for up to around 8 weeks, maybe 10 weeks. But in them couple of weeks that I was off, obviously not playing, I worked really, really hard so that I'd be ready to come back straight away and be available after the 10 weeks. And from the 10 weeks, once it was up, I was on the manager's case of, in training, in terms of I was training really, really well, and kind of making it nearly impossible for him not to pick me, by the way I was training. So it was one of them ones where kept the head down, really got at it, and at the end of the year paid dividend, because I had a great season down there. Ended up getting on the first division team of the year, and obviously Galway ended up getting promoted into the Premier Division as well. So, like you said, took the step back, had the confidence in myself to say I can go and have another decent year, and even with the setback with the broken jaw, still didn't stop me kind of going on to do and have the season that we did. So I was delighted with that, and it gave me a little taste of what football was like, elsewhere, and opened my eyes a little bit to other stuff,
And Raf, when you came back from Galway to Sligo, that would have been the first time you would have set eyes on Seamus Coleman. Did he sort of make an instant impression on you, and sort of, like, obviously we know incredible player for Sligo and got a move, but was he someone that you always thought when you see him first he's got a real chance, or was it a bit of a slow burner with him? Did you just see him getting better and better every game?
Well, like, he was such a young kid. Like, he was, I think, 17, 18, I think, when we played St. Catherine's up in Killybegs. We went to Killybegs, I remember it. He played centre half, I think, that day. And he would just, 17 years of age, even at 17 years of age, you're playing against, senior players, against a League of Ireland club. He just didn't hold back anything, He went through any lad that came up in front of him. He just went through them for a shortcut. At 17, he just had that real drive, he didn't care, he was really grounded and said, look, it's just another player, another obstacle that's in front of me, and I'm going to go through it if I have to get to that ball, it didn't matter who it was. And you could see that from the start. I remember that day, he met 2 or 3 lads with a couple of tackles. Now, won the ball, but you'd have 1 or 2 lads kind of saying, "Relax, it's only a pre-season friendly,"
Yeah.
But I think it was after that. Then Sean, obviously had brought him into Sligo after that game, and then in training, you could see then in training just the energy levels. It's phenomenal, and still is to this day. How we got up and down, and just when you thought, right, he's not going to recover from this, where someone might go by him, he'll just come in with a last ditch tackle and take the ball away from that player. His ability to recover was phenomenal, and probably, a big part of what helped him make that step from here, in our league, to being a Premier League footballer and now an international captain,
Was there ever a stage there, Raf, when he did make that move, there's always a bit of chat around the dressing room when somebody, maybe moves on or goes, moves to a different club that's, higher up. Was there any sort of chat where, like, people were saying, is he really, away to Everton? Is he really away to a Premier League club? Surely there's better lads in and around here that maybe should have got a move.
I think a lot of the chat, to be fair, because Seamus was so well liked and such a nice lad, I don't think anybody ever would say a bad word about him in terms of begrudge him, saying that, he didn't deserve it, because he did deserve it. He thoroughly deserved it in my eyes anyways, because, like I said, in training, he trained and he played the same way. I remember we used to play on a Friday, because we had a lot of English lads playing with us, from a couple of Scousers and so forth. On a Friday before a game on a Saturday, we used to play Ireland v the rest of the world. So Seamus obviously was on my team. If the numbers were a bit dodgy and there was one extra, I always got knocked over to the foreigners, because of
the Italian rule, was it?
Yeah, because of the Italian background, So I always got knocked over to the foreign lads, if there was odd numbers. But I remember himself and Chris Butler used to absolutely kick lumps out of each other. Now, I mean, this is the day before, we might be playing wherever, Dalymount or somewhere, wherever we're playing. these two boys the day before a game, absolutely mincing each other. I mean mincing it. Paul Cook, I remember, had to stop a training session one day because these two boys were they were going in nailing each other the day before a game, and we had a couple of boys missing anyways due to injury or whatever. And Paul Cook pulled the session up saying, "Oh lads, hey lads, I can't afford to get anyone injured. Hey, you can't be tackling like that." Cookie hated boys tackling in training, you know. He really did. He hated any lads picking up needless injuries in training. And then we're going the day before we play a big game. Chris Butler and Seamus just mincing each other, you know, up the line. Seamus was right back, and Butts was a left back. So they'd be going up each side of the line, and they'd be just mincing each other across the sideline with tackles. Did
it ever spill over, Raf? Was there ever a case where it had to be pulled apart, or?
There'd be a couple of heated ones, you know, a couple of little heated ones, but nothing that really kind of got out of hand. Really, you know, nothing that couldn't be sorted there and then.
Right,
you know, a bit of banter and a bit of.
Seamus can handle himself then as well.
What was that?
Seamus can handle himself as well then.
Hey, I tell you what, the same boy, I tell you now, no better boy, he'd swing you around with one arm. I don't know, is it Team Killy Begs, but I tell you what, he had serious. I wouldn't as nice a lad as he is, and he wouldn't, you know, he wouldn't have a bad word to say about anyone. But he'd be the kind of fellow where I'd say if you did cross him, I tell you what, you wouldn't be long knowing about it.
Hi. And obviously he was sold for 60,000. So did you get a nice new contract then after Seamus left? But more money kicking around.
That was the one time where he renegotiated, Chief.
That was the only. Well, think around when the second time was. So
it was twice in the one contract after COVID.
Let's just say the next season I asked for a nice little sign-on fee. Just put it that way.
No,
you finally eventually have something on you, Raf. Mercenary.
No wonder he loves Coleman. Huh? Is that when did you use the extra bit of cash then to go and get the hair sorted? Was that?
See, my the fullbacks were bombing on, you know, at that stage when I was around 23. So I says, hey, I need to pull these boys back and defend a little bit more, you know. They were bombing on, so I said I better do something about it.
That's a great analogy to use about your hair loss. I love it, lad. That's bad.
Just on that, Raf, did you ever get any stick when you were playing from that or from fans or anything?
I tell you, never got stick from any of the lads, you know, that I played with or anything like that. To be fair, never, you know, which was testament to some of the lads, because, you know, you could use it, you know, to get at me. Now, it wouldn't have bothered me because I wouldn't give a shit anyways, to be honest with you.
No, that's the type of character. I can't imagine anybody can get under your skin too easy.
If I gave a shit about it, I wouldn't have went advertising it saying I got my hair done, would I? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's have it right in that sense. But yeah, I would have got plenty of stick off the fans for it. You know, the Bows one. You know, obviously when I was in Bows for the year I was in Bows, the Bows fans up to this day now still used to sing, "Rafael Cretaro, we paid for your hair." So, you know,
that's quality.
Brilliant.
You get it, and you get a couple of fans, you know, lads, you know, that'll give you a bit of stick, saying that was a bad job you got done there. There's still they missed a few bits and stuff like that, you know. So, but all took in good spirits. The football banter, and for me, never ever reacted in a negative way to it. Always had a bit of banter when anyone said it to me.
Like the Irish dressing room, the time. Who was the player that got it done? The Irish dressing room, and they apparently held them down and tried to pull it out. Who was that? Used to play with Man City.
Stephen Ireland.
Stephen Ireland.
Yeah.
Stephen Ireland. Yeah. But he had something else done. He kind of like had where they put the thing on. It's basically like a wig, you know.
Right.
I think that's kind of what he had. So it was kind of held on your head with a T-sub. Where I had the proper job done, you know. I went for the proper one, you know what I mean?
You didn't take any shortcuts, Ralph. I'll tell you what.
Imagine heading the ball right? Scorching hot day, the adhesive gets all loose. You head the ball and it ends up sticking to the ball into the net. Good luck. Best of luck coming back from that.
I might get a bit of consultation.
No, Chief's out there. He's actually just kind of test the water, see how it gets done. I think he's looking at his own there, thinking.
I'll tell you what, Ralph. The old tide's going out in me, and she's not coming back in. Hey, so I might. It is a wee bit. Hey, every year the tide's going out.
You're all right. Do you want to see my fullbacks? My fullbacks were proper in the third quarter, man. There was just all there was a CDM just here in the middle, holding the fort.
A wee man on the number 10 roll.
Pretty much.
A bit like Chief. CDM stuck in the middle, not moving left or right, just stuck in there. Final. Take us to the cup final.
Cup final 2009.
Go ahead, Chief.
Okay, the cup final. Obviously, I went to Bohs. Obviously, in 2010, Rovers had won the cup with the year before in 2000. The year I was away, I then got brought back. Then obviously from Paul Cook brought me back again. Obviously, Bohs was kind of coming to the end of a golden kind of era where they had kind of dominated for a good couple of years previous to that. Had ran into a little bit of financial trouble, so pretty much everyone.
Let's get it right here, back. The boys died up again, so you're off. Back down the road, the Sligos.
But hey,
jeez,
that's what it sounds like.
That hair must have cost Bohs a fortune. So they signed you in 2010, and the arse is falling out of the club at the end. But did you not play in the cup in the season before for Sligo when you lost the Sporting final?
We did, yeah. We in 2000 we were in 3 cup finals 3 years in a row, and in 2009 we lost. Obviously, we were 1-0 up all the way to the 75th minute. Ended up losing, I think 2-1. They scored 2 late goals in the 82nd minute and the 88th minute, something like that, to win it. You know, I actually came off injured. I think I came off in the second half at some stage. It was one of the windiest days I ever played a game of football, and I remember Rami Bacco crossed the ball in from the right. What a player! But not only a player, what a fella! Hey, what a guy! You'd enjoy him now. He's one of the funniest lads I've ever met playing football. The stuff, and I'm going to tell you a story anyways about him. While we were playing together, 2008, notorious. Absolute gentleman, loveliest lad, right? He would do anything for you. But when it came to money, you did not mess with this fella, okay? When it came to money, you did not mess with this guy, okay? So he's gone on international duty the week before. He's drove the car obviously up, was running a little bit late for the flight, flew anyways. Up by the tolls there in M50 motorway. So never knew this was his first time that he was at Sligo and had international duty. Came back through the same tolls. 2 months later gets this bill. He comes in anyways after getting this bill, been notified of having this bill of, I think it was €180 or something like that. So he was on international duty for, I think, a week, 10 days. So comes back to this bill of €180. We're training on a Thursday night. We're playing on the Friday. Then the next day we're playing on a Friday away. He comes in on the Thursday morning, and he lived in my town in Tubber, so we used to travel together. He goes, "Hey, look at this. Tell me, what's this?" Shows me this bill with his French accent. He goes, look. How I owe this? €180. How come I owe this? I don't do this. I don't do this, he says. I says, no, mate. I says, let me have a look. Had a look at it anyways. I said, it's from the toll, lad. You've went through the toll and you got to pay it by 8 p.m. the next morning. You've been gone for 2 weeks and it's just kept multiplying and multiplying while you were away. I did not know this. No, I can't play tomorrow. I can't play my head. My head is gone now. I can't play tomorrow. This is what he says. Okay. So I says, nah, geez, lad, I said, it's only, you know, sort it out. If you ring them and tell them the situation, they'll sort it. No, I don't play. I can't play tomorrow. My head. So in we go anyways to training, shows Paul Cook this bill and says basically the same thing he says to Cookie. My heading, he used to say, not my head, my heading. I can't play tomorrow, my heading. And Cookie's, lads, hey, mate, what can I do, lad? You're gone for 2 weeks. Hey, I can't do this shit. What are we meant to do? The club, he goes, the club must sort this. I don't play tomorrow. I can't play. My head, the club must sort this. It has to be paid. And we're trying to explain this to him now that, you know, this has to be paid. Otherwise, it's going to keep multiplying and you get a bill in another 10 days and it could be twice that. I don't play tomorrow. I don't play. I don't play my head. I don't play, he said. So anyways, by the end of the day, he gets it sorted. Okay, he doesn't sort it. Someone else sorted. I won't say who sorted it. Gets it sorted, and next day we're on the way to the match, and I say, look, you're obviously here. You're playing. You got it sorted. He says, hey, my friend, I'm too clever. I knew I was always going to play, but I knew I wasn't going to pay the 180 euro somebody else did. I'll give you a good, just as we're saying, how to change and a good story. And it only happened last year, last season with Harps. We were playing Shells, the day we played Shells. And I had actually, my brother was christening his firstborn that day. Now I had told Ollie, obviously, that I'd be arriving, you know, a little bit late, that I'd missed the pre-match meal, obviously, with the squad, that I'll meet them at the ground. So I'm doing whatever, you know, I had everything prepped, all sorted, lovely, ready to go, suit on for the christening, the whole works. Get off in great time, not having to rush, nothing, you know. Get to the ground and park the van, get out of the van, go to the back of the van, open the door, realised I've left my gear bag back in Cretaro.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
All right.
Horrible.
Okay.
Horrible.
I can imagine there's not too many size 6 players kicking around as well with boots and
So I'm like, right, okay, how do I deal with this? I was lucky in one. I used to always carry a pair of boots because I was doing the coaching at the time. So I used to have a pair of boots in the back of the van that I used to always use for coaching. Now these things had big holes in the top of them and everything. All right, these yokes had big holes in the top of them, but they were a boot and they were grand. They did the job. Took me pair of boots, carried them under me in me 2 hands just like that. Borrowed a pair of shin guards off one of the lads. Ended up coming on then at half time, and we ended up getting a result. Now I could have thought to myself, oh fuck, what have I done? I've left me fucking, you know. But I didn't even tell Ollie. I didn't tell any of the lads that I left me gear. You know, I didn't make a big deal of it, you know, or try and, you know, say it to anybody else so that they'd be thinking, because it was a massive game, obviously. Shell, you know, it was, you know, they were a team that were kind of in the same position as us that we needed to kind of beat. So I says, right, keep it as low key as you can. Carry the boots under me thing. No one even noticed anything that I didn't have my gear bag or anything with me. You know, bar the one, I just used the one. Oh, Jesus, I must have left my shin guards. I was washing my shin guards. I must have left them out of the bag. And he got a spare pair.
Such a pro, Ralph.
I think that's a perfect example of someone who's been in the league for 20 odd years at this stage.
100%.
Loads of experience. I'm not going to freak out here. Got a pair of boots. Don't tell anyone. You end up coming on doing well, and like that's but where maybe when a younger you, it would have affected you. It would have affected anyone really.
Absolutely. I think a younger me, I would have been like, I would have been like, I haven't got my boots. I haven't got me shin guards that I always wear.
You'd be like Boko, heading gone.
Hey, I can't play my heading. I can't play. 100%.
That kind of leads to maybe something else that I was going to touch on. is where a lot of it is in the head. You know, like people are so meticulous about, you know, their preparation and things like that. There, like another side of it is like without going in too deep about the like sports psychology and things like that. There, was there any type of that thing that you might have introduced later on in your career, or did you sort of have the same sort of mindset from when you started the whole way through?
Oh, yeah, obviously I would have had a mindset in regards of, I used to visualize stuff as a young lad, you know, as a young player, you know, visualize. So, you know, just like we might be playing whoever the next day, you might visualize yourself scoring, you might visualize yourself coming off the bench doing well, or whatever it may be, you know. You know, they're little things, you know, that I would have used. But definitely as I got older, you know, you use a lot of, you know, if things aren't going well, you know, how, you know, don't think about kind of, okay, that's not gone well, oh shit, okay, next ball you get, or the next pass or the next touch is going to be good, it's going to be simple, you know, and build it from there, kind of, you know. But, you know, it hasn't changed much in terms of the mental aspect of it, you know.
Yeah.
Always for me, it was always, right, how can I react in terms of any scenario that comes? How can I have a positive reaction to whatever is happening in that current, you know, that moment?
Just to expand on what Cohen's saying there, it's an interesting topic. But, you know, obviously you are quite small, and like Ireland, you know, we're known for being quite direct in terms of senior football and things like that. Did you maybe have a resilience from a young age of like people saying you're too small, you know, yeah, you're too small, like you won't make it or anything like that? And maybe you had to have that little bit of steeliness that you maybe subconsciously didn't know you had, and then maybe that helped you throughout your career, because, you know, you're playing against big centre halves like Cowan, big units and stuff. Did you always have that as a young lad that say, you know, that's not going to bother me? Or
yeah, I don't think it ever bothered me in terms of me size, you know. Like, I wouldn't be the biggest man in stature, you know, but it wasn't something I was ever going to let kind of hold me back, you know.
But was it said to you, like, did you get that?
I know, it was never probably said directly, you know, to me, you know, as a young kid. You know, obviously you're going to get young lads saying, oh, you shrimp, or you, as the one I used to get called, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were big back then. Oh, you turtle, you wee turtle, you was always the one that was always called me. Ah, look at you wee turtle, you.
Was that because your name was Raphael?
Because my name is Raphael, exactly.
He was my favourite turtle as well, as the boy with the red band.
Ah, the wee red band on him, yeah. So that was one, like, so no, nothing malicious really said to me, you know.
Sorry,
did it ever, you know, we were kind of said as you know, a nation for being height, and I think it's kind of changed, you know, your Messis and your players like that, your Coutinhos, all these kind of players now have changed the whole dynamic, you know, of football, you know, in terms of, you know, it doesn't matter how small they are. Look, you see Messi, no matter, there could be 4 or 5 players around him, he'll always find space and time to receive the ball and do something with it. So, you know, obviously players like that have helped, you know, the next generation coming on, where you can't really say now, you know, physically he's too small, because that player you're saying is physically too small could be the best player in the world in 5 or 10 years time.
Exactly.
Another thing that I remember as well from you for playing against you, and obviously kind of knowing you later, like when you come up to Harpsnat there, you're a nice fella, like, you know. So really, my approach to the game would be, I'd really rather a centre forward who's going to wrestle with you, you know, maybe catch you up under the chin early on, so you're focused and you know, your goal is, right, I'm going to keep this boy in check, keep you focused on the job at hand. And then you have Alexa, you come up chatting away to you, all right, lad, geez, you're a big fella. Oh, what's going on here, you know? And you're like, you know, get out of his sight, you know. You want someone who's going to put it up to you, and you just weren't that way inclined at all.
He's crafty.
No, like, it's like you said, I didn't like, I hate, to be honest, I used to hate playing against yourself and the boy, forget his
Packy Maley.
Yeah.
I used to absolutely hate playing against you. You used to just, any time that the ball was, as a striker, I used to kind of like, dropping into the hole. But either you were Pacimili, whether it was Ollie or just G did it as players, anytime I went into the hole, I didn't have a yard. All I could hear was, I could hear you two boys breathing on the back of my neck, ready to kick lumps out with me. And I remember just being kicked around the place, never been able to receive the ball without ye being, 2 or 3 yards, at least 2 yards, from me where you're going to have a chance to nick the ball, And I'd never had, I think I only scored maybe once against Harps. Up in Harps, I don't think I ever scored other than that against Harps, only bar one time.
You had a great opportunity. You had a great opportunity one night. I remember, who was it? I think maybe Ethan Boyle gave away a penalty in the last minute down the Showgrounds. Remember that one? Battling performance. Concedes a penalty. We're thinking, out of here with a point, no ball. You can imagine, give away a penalty last minute, all seething, raging. Raf goes up to hit the penalty. Unfortunately, doesn't work out for him. Smashed it over the bar. We're delighted with you. Like, I couldn't believe it because I'm thinking, oh, Raf's going to score because it's Raf, and he's just going to tuck this away. Blazes it over the bar.
Honestly, and then God, they're still looking for that football. That's how far now I put it over. Like, I'm not messing. We would have practiced penalties, all right, up onto that, and that side where I went was the side I always used to. I used to kind of go across my body and lift it relatively high into that corner. Yeah. But whatever that day, just look, whatever it was, I absolutely ballooned. I couldn't have ballooned it any further over the bar if I tried.
That's the kid.
When we're on the topic of penalties, I suppose you're talking about one you missed against Harps, but I think it would only be fair to highlight the penalty that you scored to win Sligo Rovers the FAI Cup in 2011. I mean, that's a pressure penalty, and you tucked that one away. What about that? Like, I mean, what an unbelievable thing. Again, a bit like your career, a bit of a fairy tale. Your hometown club, you get the opportunity to score the winning penalty. What way, can remind me, were you the fifth penalty taker, or was it before that? What way did it work out?
It kind of worked out where me and Paul Cook would have had a kind of conversation in terms of penalties. I think we'd gotten a penalty a couple of weeks before that, and I didn't step up to take it, and Cookie was a bit mad at me kind of for not stepping up to take the penalty. Like, we had the likes of Blinks, your Richie Ryans, we fantastic players in the squad that were well capable of taking a penalty. But he got really mad at me after the game. He says, you're a striker. You need to have confidence. You should be the first one to grab the ball to go and take the penalty. And I kind of did. I was a bit reluctant to take a penalty in the cup final, but Cookie said, look, I want you to take the fifth penalty, and I was thinking, taking the fifth penalty, I was hoping, right, I won't have to hit one, That was kind of that was really kind of what I was thinking, to be honest with you. But it worked out where, right, Jesus, they've missed two penalties. Tracky saved 2 penalties. I'm the fifth penalty taker. If we score this, we win. And look, if you went and you looked at the penalty, I pretty much banged it down the middle, and I had kind of watched the keeper. I just put it down the middle, and the rest is history. But it wasn't a case where, right, I'm stepping up to take this one or whatever. I was the fifth penalty taker, reluctant enough to take one, to say the least. But it happened to be me, who had left the year before, came back and that season back and was the one to kind of slot away the winning penalty, so it was great for me because I had missed out in the 2009, obviously, or the 2010 that they won. I'd lost the 2009 cup final. So to get the opportunity then again the third time, for me was fantastic. But again, unbelievable for the club to win back-to-back, FAI Cups, and was, the start of something special that was about to happen at Sligo.
So just going back to the the cup final stuff and then the league success, and as Chief referred to earlier, like Sligo being such a a football town first and foremost. What type of receptions were you getting? Say after after you've come back with a cup after the league, like what sort of what sort of welcome were you getting all around the town around that time?
Sligo is a phenomenal place. Like it's mad how how mad football it really is, and we always knew. I always knew, obviously, because I'm in South Sligo, which is very rural to the town itself, so it meant a lot out there. An awful lot of people went to matches from Tubbercurry, to the Rovers games, but you only realise when you're kind of in and doing these things really how mad they are. Like football, like we used to go for lunch. We had a great bond, a great group of lads who it wasn't never left. Kind of once we finished training, that was it. We didn't just go our separate ways and go home. We most of us used to kind of stay together, and we'd always go for a bite to eat together. And most places we went to, used to bloody look after us. Sometimes they wouldn't charge us for the food. Whether that's because of that or not, I don't know. But we really were treated awfully good by the people of Sligo when we did go and had that kind of golden era with the club. It's a real testament, and any lads, I think, especially the lads, your Richard Brushes, who came to the town and is now known as a Sligonian, is a Sligo man, probably true and true now. It shows how much of the people make you feel really, really welcome and make you just feel a little bit more special, than it would be playing for your, a different club. If you kind of leave all on the pitch and don't take the piss and you really leave everything on the pitch and you give your all, you'll never have a problem. You'll be seen as a god here, and I think that goes for any club. I think no matter what club you pay for, if you leave all on the pitch, you'll get the respect and everything that's warranted with it,
Ralph, what about another mutual friend of ours that we played together at Harps, and then he had a stint up at Sligo, all-state freshman, Paddy McCann. Did you enjoy Paddy when he was up at Sligo? He's a good lad, isn't he?
Oh, man. Hey, one of the nicest guys you will ever meet.
Hey,
I had a great, and another one, Keith, I know you're very good mates with, and I'm still very, very good pals with him and talk to him regularly as well,
Yeah.
But one of the
Great
nicest
lad.
guys, absolute legend. I mean, like you say, there's not many lads, you stay in contact through football, but he's one of the lads, obviously, and Bocco and a couple of others that I do constantly stay in contact with. But he's such a nice guy, but we used to have some crack.
He was telling me a story about one night you were heading out. I'm assuming you'd have been there at this time. And he's rocked up like he did with us in the khakis. He's the khakis and the big white trainers and probably like a Mickey Mouse jumper or something like that. I don't know. But the lads have stopped him in his tracks and they were like, nah, it's not happening. Come on around the house here. So I think it was maybe, what do you call it, lad used to play in the middle of the field? We is the Scouse lad. Russell, was it? Rodden's, I think, lent him a pair of jeans anyway, a pair of maybe skinny jeans and a shirt or something like this here.
But so skinny jeans or skinny chinos or something like that. He gave me. He said, "Hey lads," he says, "You're not coming out with me and then, mate. Hey, I'm getting you some fucking proper gear, eh?
Some proper clubber."
Yeah, you're not. Hey, I ain't going out with you like that, mate. Hey, come with me. Brought him in, gave him, like you said, a pair of chinos or something, some decent gear. But he took it with a pinch of salt. Like he used to say, "Hey man, this is proper trend." Like, didn't give a shit. He used to take it as a bit of banter, like, which was brilliant.
Did he ever come out with any Bob Bradley shouts? He said to me one time, like, he was kind of frustrated at the style of play at Harps, like, and he goes, "Come on, Forks, man, we got to get the ball on the dirt, man. We got to get the ball on the dirt." And I remember getting a while. Do you know, like, it's not even that funny, but just it's something you'd never hear from any other player.
Never hear it,
yeah. Like, do you know what I mean?
In
And it just
football,
cracked me up.
yeah.
Like,
yeah. You wouldn't hear it here, like that kind of methodology. Get the ball on the dirt, like it's always, you know, get the ball down and play or whatever. But
yeah,
100, yeah, I've heard like that and a few more like as well. But like you said, you'd be just in stitches at it. Like we used to, what was the one? If you hit a top corner, oh my God, he's just hit the upper 90. Do you know what I mean? He's lasered it into the upper 90.
Laser.
You know, this is like this stuff. So brilliant, like brilliant.